Picture this. You wake up to your roommate staring at you with this weird smirk on their face. They pull out their phone and hit play, and there's your voice, clear as day, mumbling something about fighting a dragon with a pool noodle. You have zero memory of this. None. Welcome to the bizarre world of sleep talking, and trust me, you're not alone in this nightmare. About 2/3 of us will talk in our sleep at some point in our lives. Some people do it once. Others turn their bedroom into a nightly podcast nobody asked for. But here's what's wild. We still don't completely understand why it happens. Today, we're diving into the science, the stories, and the straight-up weird reasons why our brains decide to give midnight TED Talks. Sleep talking, or somniloquy if you want the fancy term, is one of those things that seems simple on the surface, but gets incredibly complex when you dig deeper. It's not just random noise. Sometimes people have full conversations. Sometimes they confess things. Sometimes they just yell about tacos at 3 a.m. The real question isn't just, why does this happen? It's, what does this tell us about how our brains work when we're supposed to be powered down? Because spoiler alert, your brain is never actually off. It's just doing different stuff. Let's break this down. The brain doesn't have an off switch. Here's the first thing you need to know. Sleep isn't one thing. It's more like a playlist with different tracks, and each track does something different for your brain and body. You've probably heard of REM sleep, right? That's rapid eye movement sleep, where most of your vivid dreams happen. But before you get there, you cycle through other stages. Light sleep, deep sleep, then REM. This whole cycle repeats about 4 to 6 times a night, like your brain is running laps. Now, here's where it gets interesting. During most of sleep, your body has this built-in paralysis mechanism. Sounds scary, but it's actually super helpful. It's called REM atonia, and it basically stops you from acting out your dreams. Imagine if you didn't have this. You'd be actually running when you dream about being chased. Not great for your bedroom furniture. But sleep talking happens because this paralysis doesn't affect your vocal cords the same way it affects your arms and legs. Your mouth and throat, they can still move. It's like your brain forgot to put them on airplane mode. Here's a real example. A friend of mine in college had a roommate who would regularly narrate his dreams. Full sentences. No, put the elephant over there. Yeah, next to the refrigerator. The next morning, no memory of elephants or refrigerators. His brain was processing dreams, but his vocal cords didn't get the memo that everything should stay internal. Scientists call this a dissociated state. Basically, parts of your brain that should be doing one thing are doing another. You're asleep enough that you're not conscious, but you're awake enough that your mouth works. It's like when your computer crashes but the cursor still moves. Something's not syncing up right. Stress is a megaphone for your subconscious. Okay, so your vocal cords can work during sleep. But why do some people talk more than others? And why does it happen more during certain periods of your life? 2 words, stress and anxiety. Your brain is basically trying to process everything that happened during the day while you sleep. It's like cleaning up your desktop files and sorting them into folders. But when you're stressed, there are way more files, and some of them are corrupted, and some are on fire. Your brain is working overtime. Think about finals week, or that period right after a bad breakup, or when you're starting a new job and everything feels overwhelming. These are prime sleep-talking seasons. Your brain has so much to process that it's basically multitasking in ways it shouldn't. There's actually research backing this up. A study from the University of Montreal found that people who sleep talk are more likely to be dealing with high stress levels or anxiety. Their brains are so active during sleep that thoughts literally spill out as words. Here's a more personal angle. Remember when everyone was stuck inside during the pandemic? Sleep specialists reported a massive increase in sleep talking and nightmares. People were calling it pandemic dreams. Our collective stress levels were through the roof, and our sleeping brains were screaming about it, sometimes literally. But it's not just stress. Sleep talking can also spike when your sleep is disrupted. Alcohol before bed, sleeping in a weird position, even sleeping in a new place can trigger it. Anything that messes with your normal sleep architecture, that's the technical term for how your sleep stages are structured, can cause your brain to glitch a little. And sometimes sleep talking runs in families. If your parents were midnight chatterers, you're more likely to be one too. It's partly genetic, partly learned behavior. Your brain might just be wired to be a bit more vocal during those dissociated states we talked about earlier. What you say reveals less than you think. Now for the part everyone really wants to know. Is sleep talking telling your secrets? If you confess to eating your roommate's leftover pizza at 2 a.m. in your sleep, is that admissible evidence? Here's the thing. Most sleep talking is complete nonsense. It's not your subconscious revealing hidden truths. It's more like your brain's autocorrect feature having a meltdown. Studies have analyzed the content of sleep talking, and most of it is fragmented, random, and grammatically weird. People might use real words, but they're strung together in ways that make no sense. The blue is walking through Thursday. That kind of thing. Sometimes the words connect to what you're dreaming about, but in a loose, abstract way. If you're dreaming about being at a concert, you might say tickets or music, but you're probably not giving a play-by-play of the dream plot. There's also this fascinating phenomenon where people will respond to external sounds. Someone in the room coughs, and the sleeping person incorporates that into their dream and their sleep talk. Your brain is still monitoring the environment even while you're asleep. It's wild. But here's where it gets a bit deeper. Some researchers think sleep talking might actually serve a purpose. It could be your brain's way of processing emotional experiences or consolidating memories. When you talk through something in your sleep, your brain might be literally working through it, filing it away properly. Think about how kids talk in their sleep more than adults. Their brains are processing massive amounts of new information every single day. Language, social rules, how the world works. Sleep talking might be part of that learning process, their brains practicing and organizing all that new data. There was this case in Australia where a woman developed a sleep talking habit after a traumatic event. Over months, her sleep talk gradually changed from distressed and chaotic to calmer and more fragmented. Researchers tracking her case thought they were watching her brain literally process and file away the trauma over time. Her sleep talking was the sound of healing happening. So where does this leave us? Sleep talking is basically your brain forgetting to keep things quiet while it's doing important background maintenance. It happens more when you're stressed because your brain has more to process. And what you actually say is usually meaningless gibberish, not deep revelations about your inner psyche. But maybe the most interesting part is what sleep talking tells us about consciousness itself. We like to think of being awake and being asleep as two totally separate states, but they're not. They're on a spectrum. Sleep talking happens in that weird in-between zone, where part of you is here, and part of you is somewhere else entirely. It's a reminder that our brains are always working, always processing, always trying to make sense of the chaos we throw at them during the day. Even when we're unconscious, there's still so much going on under the hood. And honestly, there's something kind of beautiful about that. Your brain cares so much about figuring things out that it keeps working even when you're not around to supervise. So here's my question for you. If you could listen to a recording of everything you've ever said in your sleep, would you want to? Would it be a window into your subconscious, or just a compilation of your brain's weirdest autocorrect fails? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you've had any legendary sleep-talking moments, I want to hear those too. Subscribe if you want more brain stuff explained without the headache. And hey, sleep well, or at least sleep quietly.